Okay, here we go. I just have a couple of PTO reminders before we get started, if that's okay. I'll just add those. Well, first of all, thank you all for coming this morning to the 7th grade conversations with Jeff Tepper. A couple of reminders from the PTO is the first thing is that student photo packages, if you ordered those, they are ready and waiting at the front desk. If they didn't come home with your student last week, if they were in person, you can pick them up Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday at the main entrance from 8 to 4 p.m. or Wednesdays from 8 to 3. Or you can ask your student to go to the greeter and they will be able to pick up their package that way. The only other thing is I just wanted to have everyone save the date for February 17th. We're going to have a community discussion of the documentary, The Social Dilemma. So that should be really interesting and you can watch it on Netflix. Other than that, I think, I don't know, Jeff Swiatowicz, do you want to say anything first or should I just turn it to Jeff Tepper?
Sure. Yeah, just really quickly, and I'm happy to turn it over. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for the PTO for hosting this, year after year. I think it's just great to be able to communicate with our parent population. I will tell you, I was actually in an email with Vinny Bell last night from the high school. He said that he feels like there's more parent attendance when we do these sessions via computer as well. So somebody could just turn it on or have it in the background or something. So, although COVID is very difficult for a lot of us and we're not doing what we want with school, there may be some good things that come out of it. And, always having a computer on for presentations or something like that just may be something that we're considering in the future. So with all that being said, again, thank you so much for joining us. And Mr. Tepper, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. Welcome. I'm glad we finally get a chance to do this. There's one dilemma after another coming up. But and it's like Jeff teases me that that I'm trying to avoid it. But he also knows that I enjoy talking with my parents and I enjoy doing presentations. What we're going to do today is basically I have a little agenda set up. We're going to talk about a lot of things we would normally talk about in a meeting like this. JJMS communication, how that works, the social emotional learning piece that the guidance normally works with kids on, team building, the role of the counselor, like what are the things that I'm doing with your kids, and I'm gonna break off on that a little bit with some of the things I'm talking with them this year about remote learning specifically. When they're in school, they tend to be doing okay, and the teachers are on top of them and helping them. Remote seems to be the area where kids are really hitting some lumps and some bumps, and we'll talk about that specifically. What's the counseling curriculum? We may not be delivering it in the actual format that we usually do, but we're definitely infusing it into classes. And then the part I'm going to spend the majority of the time on is remote learning. Some points, some ideas, and what is working for kids, and what are the conversations I'm having with parents and kids who are struggling with remote learning, and then we'll open up for questions. So moving forward, communication. How do parents receive information from JJMS? There's a lot of different ways. There's the school's website, there's the PTO's website. The PTO does a monthly newsletter that goes out to parents. There's Connect Ed messages that are sent out. There's the From the Middle newsletter, which is bi-monthly. Student planners. Your students should be filling out their planner every day. I like that idea. I'm going to talk about that idea later as far as remote learning goes. But that also gives you information on what's going on in the classroom. You have one document you can look at every day, and that will help you out. Through Schoology, there is teacher and team information. There's also a PowerPoint, which is right under the parent Schoology notifications. That is the PowerPoint. You can click on that. That link should work. For some reason it doesn't, contact me. I'm also going to be sending that out to all parents this coming Monday. And what that will do is that's a 5.5-page PowerPoint with screenshots that walks you through setting up daily, daily or weekly updates from what your child is doing on Schoology. And what you can also sign up for email notifications on assignments that are overdue. Unfortunately, for some subjects, I know science is one of them, they can't do every single solitary assignment on Schoology. So there may still be assignments that don't show up in that email notification, but most of them would be there. And just to give you some, like an idea on how effective that is, I was talking to a 7th grade young man who's struggling to get his work done. And I said, has mom signed up for notifications yet? And his exact reply to me was, oh my God, 30 seconds after I don't hand in an assignment, I hear ding and my mom's coming up the stairs. So I looked at the young guy and I said, hey, I think that's effective. It works in my book. And he actually, to his benefit, he actually said, yeah, no, it's not that bad. I'm staying on top of stuff. So that's the benefit. Parents who have put that on their phone have relayed to me. It's kind of a game changer for them. My kid can't get 15, 20 assignments behind. I know when there's 1 or 2 that they're missing. So, but I'll talk, as I said, I'm going to talk about remote learning specifically later on. Communication, who should you contact? If it's an academic specific question, please jump online, email a teacher, they'll get right back to you. If it's anything about grades, curriculum, lessons, how are they studying? How are they not studying? They're struggling at home. Who do they contact? When is extra help? How is that working? In the past, you knew extra help was Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and your child could divide that up. This year, it's predominantly Wednesday afternoons, but now the new Wednesday structure is allowing kids to make appointments with their teachers, to meet with them when they're having questions. Teachers will also on the new Wednesday profile will ask kids, and it's not they're asking them, but it's really a mandatory meeting for a kid if they get an email from a teacher stating I'm meeting with you at 11:15. That's a Zoom that child's expected to show up to. So that's been broadened as far as how we can help kids, which is great. We needed more opportunities to reach kids. You can always contact the team leader, and I have their names right there for you. If you want to have a parent conference, if you want to just have the team leader touch base with the team when they have a team meeting and get back to you with an update. Parents have asked to do that. That you can just contact the team leader specifically. Me, as I always say to you, contact me if you have any questions. Doesn't matter. But the counseling questions are going to be really, concerns on how to support your child as they're struggling through, through remote learning, through this new pandemic style learning we're doing. Any mental health issues, any stress kids are having, which is a lot of it this year. Academic plans. I just went into classes recently and we talked about scheduling. So your child may have come home and be talking with you about accelerated math or science or music options or so forth. Please don't hesitate and get back to me on that. Recommendations for courses, student-to-student conflicts. With less kids in school and kids in cohorts, the teachers are saying any kind of misbehaviors were markedly down this year. That the kids almost feel like they're in their little seats 6 feet apart from each other and they're wearing masks. So they've actually been pretty academically focused this year, which is at least that's one real positive result. You can contact the assistant principal around any concerns that are around discipline, the Dignity for All Students Act, DASA, recess rules and procedures, stuff like that. Principal, if there's a bigger concern with the faculty or staff, you can always reach out to Jeff. I encourage you to reach out to me on that too. We can always have that conversation about and a lot of times we can communicate with the teacher and straighten anything out that's going on like that. And as I always say, when in doubt, contact me. reach out to me. If you don't know who to call, if you don't know, where would you go with this situation, give me a call or an email. We'll have a conversation, and I'll either deal with that situation for you, or I'll point you in the right direction. Okay. School social emotional learning. The teams do that throughout the year. There's in units of study, social studies weighs big on character strengths and the character strengths of figures throughout history. So they touch on to that on what character strengths in particular people in history have exhibited. There are character strengths lessons that it's a little tougher this year to do those, because the last thing I want to do is steal academic time when it's at a premium. But we evolve that throughout the classes. The teachers tie into that. There's units in ELA, as they just were talking about in reading The Outsiders. They talked about character strengths in The Outsiders, and what were the character strengths of the characters. And if you remember The Outsiders, there's a lot of different character strengths in that book. In art, they're critiquing works in a real productive way. They do artwork around character strengths too, which is kind of neat. There's group-based activities in the classroom. A little harder to do that this year, but they are doing breakout rooms in Zoom where kids can do those lessons. And then writing, obviously, kids are basically talking about character strengths and social emotional aspects of their life and others. Moving forward, leading in social emotional learning. The home base, unfortunately, we're not doing that this year. It's a nice area for kids to touch base in the morning. Unfortunately, with the hybrid model that we have to do and the pandemic model we have to do, it's difficult to fit that in. The teachers talk all the time. I talk with kids all the time. In the scheduling lesson I did recently, there was a video we watched. I encourage you. I'm going to put the PowerPoint out by Monday. I encourage you to look at the one video we watched, because it really talks about mindfulness. It really talks about the fact of how do you adjust to a difficult situation, and we're all going to have difficult situations and challenges in our lives, and how do you adjust to that? What do we have no the conversation we had in class was we have no choice about the pandemic, but yet we do have a choice about how we react to it and how we act within it, whether we view it as a way to help us learn new skills and tasks. How, in essence, what we said is, do you view it as an opportunity or an obligation? And we can view everything in our lives as an opportunity or an obligation. Examples we used was, what about running those sprints at the end of practice? Most of us remember those sprints and didn't enjoy them. Some kids really take it as an opportunity and they become better, stronger athletes. We talked about homework. How do you use how do you view homework? Do you view it as an obligation that you just want to get out of the way and put back in your book and go to school the next day? Or do you use that as an opportunity to learn more about the subject, which is going to enhance your grade, which is going to enhance you as a person? It's going to enhance your class performance. You're going to get more out of class. Do I view homework as an obligation or an opportunity? So we had those conversations along the lines of mindfulness. And leadership opportunities, we're trying with leadership opportunities. Any opportunity we get, we ask kids to take leadership roles. I asked 2 students recently to buddy with a new student coming in, which is a positive thing for everyone. The new student got some buddies to help out, and these 2 kids were given a nice leadership task within this pandemic learning we're doing. Okay, my expectations for kids. I'm looking for them to develop independence throughout middle school, and as the PowerPoint's saying, everything from completing homework to time management to general organization. to building on their character strengths. Who am I? Self-advocacy is huge. Okay, seeking help from teachers. Your children have heard this from me since the beginning of 6th grade, when I first did a little walk around the building with them in September, October. It's the aspect of that I'm looking for them to take charge of their learning. It's, in the next slide, I'll talk about, they've heard repetitively from me the aspect of being a responsible learner. So, and that's something that I'll continue to work with them on. Respecting differences. Everyone is different from everyone else. And we need to respect those, whether it's simple along the lines of what do you mean? How can't you be excited about the Super Bowl? Well, I don't like football. That's how you're not excited. And it's simple aspects like that to help kids in middle school learn differences. It doesn't have to be on a global national scale. It can be just literally, I like soccer, I like football, and why doesn't someone else like that? That starts them out with accepting differences. In October, I'm pretty sure it's still on the PTO and the school's website. I did a presentation on organization, where we broke down how to organize a middle school kid. That's there. You can always go to that. The PowerPoint and the recording are there. It has a lot of great information on how to organize a middle school kid. And that's some of those independent skills that we talk about. Your kids at times, I'm sure that they're not ecstatic about hearing me talk about these subjects all the time, but they hear it from me all the time. And the key 4 things that I'm talking with them about all the time, whether it's an incidental conversation or going into class. We had this conversation last week when we talked about scheduling, that I expect them to be a responsible learner. A responsible learner is someone who steps up, who handles things on their own, who contacts teachers, who understands that, along with the second point, that school is my job and it's my responsibility to be on top of that job. We had a very blunt conversation I did with your children, along the lines of how difficult it is and how different it is this year to do school and to succeed at school. And it's okay that it's different, that it's difficult, that I wanted them to know that I understood that. But it's still our job. We still need to overcome that, and we still need to do our job. That school is my job is big. They hear from me all the time. They hear about their character strengths. That their character strengths, I tell my kids, my 7th graders, that those are their superpowers. If humor is one of my strengths, then use humor. Some kids are better at organizing than others. Okay, use that strength. That's really, that it's important to use your character strengths to make you to help you be successful. And the last thing we talk about all the time is reputation. That what you do in being a responsible learner and doing your job creates a reputation. And the conversation we have is everything you say and do creates your reputation. And what is the reputation you want, which ties right back into character strengths. We taught, the example I used last week in class was, if you're the student who does their homework all the time, your reputation is that you're a really conscientious student who's on top of their work and prepared. If you do your homework half the time, your reputation to a teacher becomes, I'm not sure whether this kid is fully invested in school or not. Is this a struggle with learning the way it is, or is this a character aspect that we need to work with the student on? And again, as we have those conversations, I am always saying to all my 7th graders, I'm here for you at any point in time you want to talk to me. You can contact me and we'll Zoom, we'll talk, or whatever works for you. Hybrid learning points. This is kind of important because we've basically, in talking with students this year, there's been a lot of things that have come up, and different ways of looking at how kids do work. And in doing this presentation, I made this slide so I could talk with you, my 7th grade parents, about this year. This year is really, really challenging for kids. Most are doing well, but more than usual are struggling. All kids are sharing with me how much they like to be in class with their teachers. That's how they learn best. That's what works best for them. That this is what they find more effective for them. And it's okay to let our kids know that learning this way is challenging and is different and can be difficult. It's okay for our kids to know that. I've shared that with parents, and I've shared that with kids every day. But it's also important that they also hear that school is your job. And sometimes our job is difficult, and sometimes our job is not as difficult. This is a year where our job is more difficult. And that we expect everyone to do their job and to try their best, even if it's challenging. And if that doesn't work, just seek help. Again, we need to encourage our kids often to ask for help from their teachers, their counselors, from you, their parents, from older siblings, from other students who are getting it, who the math comes easier for them, or science comes easier for them. I shared with every kid last week. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. A lot of people think it's a sign of weakness when I have to ask for help. It's actually a sign of strength. It's a sign that someone is capable enough and strong enough to say, you know what, I'm not getting this. I need a hand. And we had that conversation last week. This year, our kids need more support and more check-ins and more pats on the back and more attaboys and attagirls from their parents, from their teachers, from me, because this is a hard year for them. We're asking middle school kids to basically do and use techniques and strategies that they work on in getting in middle school, so that when they reach high school, they have that down and they're ready to work independently. We have to ask kids to be more organized and be more on top of their stuff, and give them support as we move forward. So my main point here is that I think parents need to check in with their kid more often than you think you might. And it might just be a simple, how is it going? How is science today? Tell me about math today. There is that option through Schoology where a parent can get those email notifications, where a parent can get daily and weekly reports, just so that they can be on top of things. This year, I've seen students miss assignments that I never in a million years would have thought they would have missed, which shows me as their counselor that this is a harder year for all kids. It's a more difficult year for all kids. So it's our job as the adults to be on top of how is this working for them. Some of the ideas that we've discussed and some of the things that are working for parents I wanted to share with you, and working for kids. Some of them are straightforward. Some of them are kind of like, the things that we all know, but it's worth mentioning again. Your kid needs to get up with enough time to eat breakfast and get ready for work. And I've been telling all the 7th graders that you're going to work even when you're at home. Okay, they need to be set up in a well-lit area with ample workspace. The space needs to be free from distractions. Your child, and you know that if their phone can be in their room, because it's not a distraction, and maybe it is helpful while they're in math, they could be texting a friend, hey, I got distracted for a minute. What page are we on? Some kids can do that. Some kids cannot. It's too much of a distraction. Ray DeStefan, our social worker, came up with a quote early this year, and I love it. There's a difference between comfortable and cozy. Hanging out in your bedroom sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work for kids. Comfortable is, I got on a pair of jeans, I got on a pair of running pants, I have a t-shirt, I'm relaxing. Might have my slippers on, but I'm comfortable. Cozy is, I'm in my pajamas, I'm under my covers, and I'm doing school from there. For most kids, that's not going to work. For some kids, working in the bedroom is not working. Probably more kids than not need to be out of the bedroom. They need to be in the kitchen or the dining room or the living room, where they can easily be observed by mom and dad. Mom and dad don't have to be looking at them every second of the way, about what's going on and what they're doing. It's not like they need to be in the kitchen or dining room so you can totally be on top of them and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to. It's just the fact that they know you're there. As I told one kid the other day, it's just a way to keep you honest. And the kid smiled at me and went, "Yeah, you're right." And a lot of kids are finding it very difficult to do work in their bedrooms. There's just too many distractions. They need to have all their materials there. They can't be hunting around the house. Some of that for some kids is just really organizing that one place to work. For some kids, it's a constant organization because they're constantly misplacing things. And again, that's something I could talk with the kid on about setting up that organizational place. I've already done that this year, and the majority of kids have some pretty good organizational systems in place. Some of them don't use them all the time, which works against them, but they most of them have pretty good organizational, at least framework set up. Coordinate materials to make them easily accessible. Okay, I'm a big person where ELA is blue and science is red and social studies is yellow. So this way you can easily get to them. If you ever see my desk, I have different colored folders on my desk. It just helps me access information a lot easier, and that could work for your kids. This is a big one I'm pushing kids. Get up, get dressed, put jeans and a t-shirt on. It's the difference again between being comfortable and cozy. Okay, it's a matter of it's a point of emphasis, and we talked about this in class last week. It's a matter of I'm making the commitment to get up, to change, to go down to the dining room, to go to work. I'm going to work. Just as I get in the car and I drive to work every day, I'm going to work. It actually breaks up that cozy, comfortable place, which is home. Home's cozy and comfortable for us. We're asking you to work there. So we need to break through the differences there. I've been big, and I found kids who's big with this, and I found kids who are struggling this year are not writing their homework down. They're not writing their assignments down. The PTO gives every kid an agenda book. I've been big this year with having kids write their assignments in their agenda book. When you hit the minus key on the computer and it minimizes something, it tends to disappear. When you're writing it in that planner, that's a solid concrete item. You physically have to purposely put it someplace else for it to not be in your face. It also will help mom and dad to see what a kid is doing or what a kid has on their agenda to do. The other piece, and the positive piece, is when you put that black line or that X through that assignment or that check, that's a really powerful, incredible feeling, especially if you have 4 assignments and you have 3 checked off. That's kind of motivational. That boom, that's off. Great. Now I get to move on to the next one. So I'm pushing kids to basically, use that agenda book. There are other kids who have systems that are working wonderful for them, but if it's not working, I think the agenda books is a great task to use. It's a great a tool to use. Communication, I'm finding, is the key. Is kids contacting their teacher for everything from I don't understand how to do my homework, to I'm not sure about what we learned today, to if I can't get into Zoom. An actual conversation I had with a student 2 days ago was, okay, you went to go into Zoom and you struggled to get in. And now an hour or 2 later, your teacher's emailing you that you cut the class and you weren't in there. Well, if you would have emailed the teacher, if the class started at 8:50 and you emailed your teacher 8:52 that you're trying to get into Zoom and you're having difficulty, do you think your teacher now knows that you're really trying? Yeah, there's an actual email from you. They also may be able to jump on and get you in. They might see a glitch and be able to get you in. But at least they know you were trying to get on, you couldn't get on, and now they need to get back to you to make sure that you have the information and and the teaching that you need. So again, the communication piece, and they've heard this from me since since the beginning of 6th grade. Have your child contact technology. They're awesome. They're getting back to kids immediately. If a student sends a message to student help desk at klschools.org, technology gets back to them really quickly. They were even doing this in the beginning of the year when they were getting 500 emails a day. They were on top of it. I was very surprised with how on top of getting in touch with kids and walking kids through problems they were. Make sure kids take a break. It's a long day glued to a screen. You got to get up and walk around. You need that break, that get a drink, get something to eat, stay hydrated. Make sure your stomach's not growling on you. And again, sleep. That's one of my biggest shortfalls. Get enough sleep. It's huge. It's a difference between feeling energized and good to go in the morning, and also feeling feeling tired and dragging in the morning. Okay, getting towards the end. Some of the dates, there's going to be a curriculum conversations date that's not out yet. There's the PTO group discussion series. And then April 9th, I shared with your children that is the date for schedule changes, schedule corrections, putting in waiver forms if you haven't been recommended for an accelerated class that you and your child have discussed and now are looking to move forward to do that class. April 9th is the deadline. And I emphasize to all my 7th graders that that's what's coming down from district office, that April 10th, students have to be put on, students in those changes have to be put on a wait list. My exact words to my students was, I want you to have everything you want. So make sure we get it in by April 9th. Oh, lost my cursor. Questions? Does anyone have any questions? Okay, chat. I don't see a chat room. Is there a chat room, Taryn?
There is a chat feature down below.
Yeah, mine is up top because I'm sharing my screen. So I'm not seeing the chat.
Yeah, there's no questions in it now other than people just thanking you for your presentation.
And again, and as I hope I try to repeat all the time, do not ever hesitate to contact me. I'm always more than happy to talk with you about any situation, any question, any issue. I want to encourage your kids to get involved in clubs, even though our clubs right now are run virtually through Zoom. The kids are having a blast. Some of the animal care clubs, things they're doing, the kids just can't get enough of. So it's something for them to do now. I'm hoping that as sports gets in, that it'll trickle down to the middle school for the spring. We don't know yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It'd be nice to get kids out there. The scheduling class I did last week, that PowerPoint will be up as of Monday, and there's also a recording I did in Ms. Balassi's class that I'm going to post also, so that kids, if they really want to see what I was talking about, can go to that presentation and can fast forward to that point. If we're talking about accelerated classes, we're talking about music, or we're talking about world language.
So Jeff, there is one question that just popped up. It says, is there a good tutorial or set of instructions for setting up the Schoology notifications?
That's on, it's on this, I'll send Taryn the copy of this PowerPoint, and it's on, I believe, page 3. It says parent Schoology notification. And that's also on the, on our middle school website. That's posted up there too. I'm not exactly sure where. but I'm also going to be sending it out to every parent on Monday too. So through Schoology, I'm going to send that it's a 5.5 page PowerPoint. And when I asked Chris Nelson, I said, please let it be something that someone like me could get on, who's not a technologically sophisticated person. And it's 5.5 pages and with screenshots. So, and parents have told me it's relatively easy to get on and set up.
Okay, that's great. The other thing I did just want to let people know that your presentation is still on the PTO website, your organizational presentation, and it has the PowerPoint, and it also has the organizational charts that you had presented as little printable sheets for people.
Yeah, and just to talk about those, they're basically graphic organizers. And how do I take the information I'm learning in ELA or science or math or whatever, and put it on one sheet, or that's more helpful for me to study for it. And there's tons of different graphic organizers that the whole point of graphic organizers is it might be an English graphic organizer that can be used for any subject. If it works for your kid and for you helping your kid, then it's a really viable and good graphic organizer.
May I ask a question related to social emotional? And I'm sorry, do you want us to use the chat for the questions, or is it okay to just?
No, you can
Yes,
ask.
by all means, Marjorie. By all means.
Okay, thanks so much. I really appreciate your comment about the clubs, the after school opportunities. And from my perspective in our household, those have been amazing. Whenever my 7th grader has the opportunity to sign into a club, it really is like it's a boost. It really is a boost. So one question I just have, a clarification, is it seems like the clubs don't meet every week the way that I think they used to when we were not in a hybrid model. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but can you clarify what is the meeting schedule for the clubs and why wouldn't they be on a weekly basis? Is there any thought to adding any more clubs? I don't know what the capacity is or whether people are feeling like, they just don't really have the room in their own lives to offer more after school programming. But because we are here and every family, every grade level has its own heartache around the pandemic and the diminished opportunities for socializing. But because this is specifically the 7th grade conversation, I'm just going to say it that, I feel so badly that these kids at the end of 6th grade, had a compromised 6th grade spring, obviously. Now here they are in 7th grade, and middle school is the shortest building experience for kids. They spend 6 years in elementary, 3 short years in middle, and then 4 in high school. So I can't help sometimes just thinking like, what's this going to look like? And we don't know where we're headed, but soon enough, they're going to be in 8th grade. And hopefully that's just, a much richer experience through the lens of social emotional opportunities. But it's such a vulnerable time for kids. So much growth can happen, so much socializing and relationship building. And I guess I'm just wondering if you can say a little bit more about, like, are you thinking specifically about as a grade level, how is this going to sort of go for the 7th graders, and what can we be doing to create grade level wide opportunities, whether it's like a grade level Jeopardy or I don't even know, is there any thought to how to try to build some of that in before we know it, the year is over and then they're 8th graders and then they've got a foot out the door to high school? That was a lot, sorry.
Yeah, I know all the teams just recently watched The Outsiders together, so that was kind of like a grade level event. We're looking at we're talking with teams about how we can do Hidden Figures again to show that movie as a grade level experience, which is awesome. It's one of the more riveting movies I've ever seen. We're looking at that. Clubs in the past have been, some of them have run weekly, some of them run bi-weekly, monthly. They do run at different, there's not everyone is in every week. So, and I'm not exactly sure how that's decided, Marjorie.
And I can speak more to that, Jeff. So good morning, everyone. On our district-wide website for John Jay Middle School, under the Athletics and Clubs tab, we do have our club brochure where you can see all of the clubs that are currently being offered. In addition to the ones that Jeff mentioned, we also have an art club, book club, a writing club, a newspaper club, photography, science Olympiads, a stream club, which is pretty awesome. Students are learning to put videos together, and then every week we stream the videos virtually for students at home and in person, so they can see whatever the kids have put together, different interviews. Student government, that's becoming more and more active. And so for grade 7 rising leaders, that's an area that I would definitely love to see more grade 7 students participate in. So that way they can help make some of these school decisions. We can talk about 7th grade experiences for students, and then also what 8th grade looks like as they continue to move along. So that's just a few, just to name a few. But on the website, you'll see exactly who the club advisors are, when the club meeting dates are, and then also the join code on Schoology to join the club. On Schoology, all students have also been added to our after school club page. So if so on students' calendars, they can see exactly when all of the clubs are being offered. We're working to make it a little bit more accessible, where if a student wants to go to photography club on a Thursday, they can click it and see the Zoom link there without having to go to the Schoology group. That's still in the works. But all of our group codes are listed on our website. So, so there's a few different places, but yes, as Jeff said, some clubs are offered weekly, most are offered monthly. And we do have room for more clubs. And as you mentioned, like it does depend on advisor schedules. However, if a student wants to start a club, we also have space for that. So if one of your students is like, I really wish that they would bring, I don't know, like whatever it is back, or I really want a club where I can, work on this, then tell them to come see me. And then all we'd have to do is post for it. And then see if an advisor, an adult is willing to supervise it. And most are, honestly. And so then we can get it in motion and get it for the rest of the school year. So
thank you. That was super helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure.
It's actually one of my students who's probably might be even out of college now. It was her idea to do an animal care club, and that's one of our more more visited clubs. I've been doing for about the last month and a half, 2 months, a 7th grade Wednesday lunch Zoom. And it's really just, I advertise it to the kids as it's an open Zoom to all 7th graders. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids show up usually. And it's really just a place for us to hang out and use technology to have some fun and just chit chat with each other. And it's been really kind of a lot of fun. But that's often, and it's not every kid's cup of tea, but it's, for a lot of kids, some kids come weekly. And it's just really about half an hour, 35 minutes to just, one kid the other day said, yeah, I'm on this and I haven't even looked at Schoology for 30 minutes, and I said, well, I said, thank you. Because that's the whole premise of what I'm trying to do. To just hang out with you guys and just shoot the business and have some fun and talk about what you're doing and talk about what I'm doing, and just like we're just hanging out at lunch.
And I would want to just put a shameless plug for our Yearbook Club. It's a new club that just started maybe a couple of weeks ago. But in thinking ahead for 8th grade, something that we're facing as well, we would always take photos. We'd be taking photos from all the 6th grade events, 7th grade events, 8th grade events, and the yearbook. It shows everyone within the school community, but it really highlights our 8th graders. And so with this cohort of students, we are looking for creative ways to demonstrate the events or experiences of this time. So again, having more 7th grade voices as a part of our yearbook club, thinking ahead will be really, really helpful and informative to ensuring that when they do leave middle school, it's not only memorable for this pandemic, but memorable for all the highlights and joy and excitement that came with it.
And I am keeping my fingers crossed that we can do some form of middle school sports. I know last year when we lost most of that, we did track through Zoom, and for the 20 or 30 kids that showed up twice a week, it was a really fun experience. So and as you're saying, Marjorie, it kind of speaks to exactly what you're saying, is just how beneficial that was to those kids.
Jeff, I have another question in the chat. It says, when do 7th graders pick their 8th grade courses? When does this begin?
It began last week when when we started talking about it. And like I said, I'm going to put the presentation and I'm going to put the PowerPoint on. There's not a lot of choices involved there. Most kids stick with their music throughout middle school. World language they continue. A handful of kids change their music, and that I would need a parent email on that your child would like to switch their music. There's accelerated math and accelerated science in 8th grade, and what you need to what you need to meet to get the recommendation is there. There'll be an initial recommendation sent out on the February 5th interim, and the final recommendation will be sent out on the second trimester report card. So, but other than that, there's really not a lot of change from 7th to 8th grade. The biggest change is that the kids go from teams to no teams in 8th grade. But other than that, the scheduling, there's not a lot of choices. So the kids are doing that now. That's the timeline. The February 5th, that first interim comes out. The interim comes out, and the initial recommendations come out. If someone is not happy with that recommendation, that's not what your child and you are looking for, contact the teacher and find out, well, what's the gap there? Here's the recommendation. Here's where I am. I didn't get it. What do I need to do to kind of, to breach that gap? And so I can get that recommendation, by the end of the second trimester on the report card, because that'll be the final recommendation. If that still is not where you're at, maybe you've picked it up a little bit, but you just didn't meet that, and the teacher can't recommend you, there's also the waiver process. But and that's detailed in there too. So as I said, by Monday, I'll have all of these up for everyone to look at.
Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat. I don't know if anyone else has a question that they'd like to ask Jeff. If not, I think we can wrap it up. This recording will be posted on the PTO website, and I'll send out a note about that. But if you want to rewatch it, or if you know anyone that couldn't attend and would like to see it, it will be there a little later today. Otherwise,
I'll send you the PowerPoint.
Okay, great. I can post that as well. So that's perfect. Otherwise, I guess I'll just wish everyone a great weekend. Thank you for being here. If you have questions for the PTO, please feel free to reach out to me. And thanks again.
My pleasure. And me also, if you have any questions. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks so much, Jeff.
Take care.
Thank you.